During the Copenhagen workshop in industrial change, I was asked to record my little presentation I gave on resilience and adaptive change. I'm delighted to do so with the help of my friend Joachim Wolfram here in his small photo studio in Kaiserslautern. Imagine this is an enterprise. And this is actually the value chain in which the enterprise operates. We tend to think that this could be a sort of an equilibrium where it doesn't move and it's very stable in its value chain. But that's not the reality. Reality is that the value chain would always move within the economic system, which is me. It would always move, and it would lightly move around an imaginary point of equilibrium. And it would be able to absorb some sort of stress. Resilience is actually the ability to absorb some sort of stress or shock without changing internal structures of the system. So you see here, the orange is moving a little bit around and can absorb some shock. It would always move, but at a certain point the shock becomes too big and it would fall off. Now, traditional innovation policy tends to invest into the enterprise to secure its position in the value chain, to make it more stable, give it a more stable position. I'm now investing in a traditional way into the enterprise, making it more stable in its value chain. I'm cutting off a part of the peel and as an innovation project, and the whole thing evidently becomes more stable. It's now able to absorb much more shock and stress within the value chain. But actually at a certain point, the latest, when I as an economic system tumble, it would fall off again. Now, modern innovation policy can do something different. It can also invest into the value chain as such and try to innovate the value chain, how it looks like. Now, in this environment, the individual enterprise still is not, that moves quite a lot, but the value chain as such can absorb much more stress or shock. It has a higher resilience of the overall system. But at a certain point, again, if the economic system would tumble, it would all fall off, including the value chain and the enterprise. One last aspect. Very often, we do not consider what actually happens if the whole value chain disappears. If actually the enterprise falls off out of its value chain, what actually happens? It doesn't fall into the nirvana. It's basically here, it would fall off and become part of a new value chain, this larger tablet, in which there are new actors operating. The enterprise as such would not disappear if it falls off the value chain normally. What would happen is that the value chain as such becomes redundant and is either disappearing or becoming part of a new, more innovative value chain, which offers new opportunities because it's basically something innovative. How do we, having a very stable original enterprise here, which was now no longer very much adaptable to the stresses and new opportunities because it was invested, there was one falling off, would actually not give it a better position in the new value chain, but one which is much weaker because it is not able to move and to adapt to the new changes and new opportunities. So with these examples, I try to explain the resilience as the ability to absorb some stress or shock without changing the fundamental structures of a system, and the aim of enabling adaptive change of the whole system. Further on in the presentation, in the wider presentation available, you will see a more theoretical approach to it and how system theorists explain to it. When it comes to the objectives of policy making, of regional or industrial policy making, what we basically should avoid is, and this would again call for a very strong position of regions and policy making, is that the individual enterprise in our regions become directly the playballs of the global economic system without any ability to change and without any ability to innovate themselves or the system in which they are operating.